Hey folks, it's Egwin here from Beyond Systems. Welcome to the channel. Today we're talking about isometrics or seemingly isometric exercises. It's more about the general idea behind that. Now, when we do exercises like, for instance, a plank position, a plank position is something that we can do as a fully isometric exercise. Now, let's take this one as an example. Many people, many fitness trainers, sometimes physiotherapists and so on, will cue an exercise like this with you have to fully engage your quads, you have to fully engage your glutes, you have to fully engage your core and so on. Now, what does this fully actually mean? When you use the maximum amount of tension that you can build up in a muscle in an isometric exercise, what happens is actually that you literally reduce the amount of sensomotoric feedback that you will get from your body tremendously. This also inhibits you to learn more things about how the body actually works. Now, I know many out there, they're only looking for gains, strength gains, gains in looks, whatever. But when you really are into this idea of functionally training your body, getting a better understanding of how the body works, how to actually move the body, and understand those biomechanical details, not understand so much in your mind, but intuitively know how to use your body, then the idea of squeeze the glutes as hard as you can is definitely, absolutely counterproductive. It does not serve the purpose. When you squeeze the muscle as hard as you can, all your awareness is actually in the action of squeezing the muscle, of contracting it to the maximum. You become completely unaware of what effects on the body this actually has, what effects it has on the joints, what effects it has on the immediate joints. Like when you say, squeeze the glutes as hard as you can, you don't even recognize anymore what this does for your hip. You definitely do not recognize anymore what it changes in your spine, what it changes in your leg structure, and so on and so on. And that's extremely important to understand, because once you become unaware of subtle changes in your structure, you cannot correct it anymore. Squeezing one muscle as hard as you can, and even saying squeeze the glutes as hard as you can, squeeze your core as hard as you can, they are synergists to stabilize the hip, yes. But squeezing the glutes as hard as you can will automatically also engage other muscle groups down the line, down the biomechanical line, and squeezing your abs or your core as hard as you can will also activate other muscles around the core and chest area and so on. And it will change biomechanical chains. Now the thing is this, when you squeeze a muscle as hard as you can, this muscle has a specific strength. Other muscle groups, even synergistic muscle groups, might not have that same amount of strength. As a matter of fact, not all synergists are of equal strength, even when trained towards that idea. The strength between muscles does not just depend on the training you put into them, but also in the muscle physiology, the muscle anatomy, how it is built, how much can it contract, how much load can it actually take just from the thickness of the muscle, how many muscle fibers are we talking about, and so on and so on. So once you squeeze a muscle as hard as you can and squeeze another muscle, whether it's an antagonist or a synergistic muscle, as hard as you can, then most of the time they are not of equal strength. So meaning that you create an imbalance in the system in the first place. A muscle, you can train a muscle towards its maximum potential when you isolate the muscle. All right, The second you want to use one muscle and another muscle that works with it in some conjunction, and you just try to isolate those two, you will create imbalances in the body unless you allow for other fourth parties of muscle groups to support the weaker part of those two muscles in stabilizing and keeping a healthy body structure without putting too much strain in a very specific part. So it's either you completely isolate the muscle by taking a body posture where you can really train just one muscle as much as possible, or the other thing, you live with the fact that biomechanics is an interconnected thing, and that when you do something in one muscle, you need a couple of other muscles to balance the effects of it through the rest of the body. But trying just to work on two muscles always creates imbalances that you are not even aware of when you squeeze them as hard as possible, because squeezing something as hard as possible, engaging with this much of an intent, of an activational intent, consumes 95% of your perception. And then you are not even aware anymore of whether or not there might be loads in the spine when you do a plank position and you squeeze the glutes as hard as you can, you squeeze your core as hard as you can. You do not even perceive anymore whether or not some parts in your spine might not be in alignment, hence being out there prone to injury through the practice. So I suggest whenever you start a practice, even an isometric one, which seems to be fairly simple, always try to approach that practice by using the correct biomechanical chains in the body, by activating them in a specific way. I've recently done this plank tutorial where I talk about how to activate them throughout the body in a way that they are functionally linked with each other. But go for the necessary tension at the beginning and not for squeeze full on. And then from the necessary tension, once you understand how those muscles act and interact with each other, then you can increase pressure if you want. But then you'll have enough sensomotoric feedback and conscious sensomotoric feedback to actually be able to differentiate between what an increase in muscle tension in your abdomen towards an increase in muscle tension in your quads or in your glutes, quads, will actually do eventually. And this is what makes a pose, a posture safe, what makes practice safe and functional. All right, have a wonderful time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give this a little thought. I can imagine that there might be questions. If you have questions, maybe with your most beloved isometric exercise, post it. Ask in the comments and we can have a discussion about that. We'll talk about it and I'll give you cues on how to do this. All right, have a wonderful time. Thanks for watching. See you around. If you like this video, click like and share. And if you're not new to the channel, click the subscribe button if you want more updates on how to actually use the body, the mind, our consciousness, emotions, and so on. Have a wonderful time. Thank you. Bye.